So let me start with part one. We're going to clarify the purpose and relevance of business plans to the technical background that you have. So, so my question is, what exactly is a business plan, and why should engineers care about the skills for writing impactful business plans?
So a business plan is basically a document. It is a very descriptive and detailed document that provides you with a roadmap of your, like, the company, your business. It is mostly, the plan is mostly for like maybe 3 to 6 or maybe even longer number of years. You figure out what does your business do, what kind of product or system or service it will provide, how many number of, like, your structure of your company, like how many people work, what are the goals of this business, and how the people with certain qualification align with those goals, different departments that are required to run this business. It also includes the operations, like how this business will operate over the next few years as well as long term. Adding to that, it also includes some strategies for sales and marketing. Like in the, for example, in 6 months from now, I want my product to be sold to 1,000 customers. 6 months, it should be 10,000, something like that. So what kind of strategies, marketing plans that you need to make to ensure that these goals happen? And also funding related strategies and planning also happens in this document. So it is basically your entire roadmap of that business in a very clear, concise, and required amount of technical way, so that you get the appropriate investment to run that business long term, as well as function that business and ensure that your goals and objectives, short term as well as long term, are met in a sustainable manner.
Excellent. So now we're going to go over the breakdown of the structure of a business plan, hopefully as jargon free as possible, because already in this course we have a textbook with lots of jargon. So my next question is, what are the must-have sections of a business plan, and how do they connect to each other?
I guess Pranav actually touched on some of those sections as well. But I mean, I guess it's important to notice at the beginning that when we are talking about business plan, we are talking about a different variation of different type of documents, right? But the way I prefer to look at business plan is not to see it as a document. It is more to see it as a tool in order to help you to communicate your business ideas to others, right? And not just communicate your business idea to others, and by others I mean they can be banks, for example. They can be investors who want to finance your business. It can be even your parents who want to help you or give you some cash to start your business, right? It can be a new partner. So you are funding a business, but you don't want to be alone. So you want some of your friends to join you. You need to tell them, okay, this is the idea in my mind about it. So it's not just about the communication, it also helps you to validate your idea. Because as long as the idea is in your mind, it looks perfect. But as far as you put this in a paper, you start to see what are the missing steps and what are the missing gaps. And when we talk about business plan, I told you there are different versions, but for the matter of this discussion, to talk about some typical sections that we usually cover in a business plan, let's focus on the formal type of business plan, which is the long version. It usually includes 80, 90, 100 different pages. And it has some typical sections, but again, depending on who you are presenting the business plan, those sections might change. And usually if you are presenting your business plan to an institute, like to a bank or to a venture capital, for example, they might have their own template or outline of the business plan. So it's always good to check. And no worry, by the way, if you have the content, you can use ChatGPT to redefine that and customize that based on different outlines. So it's not a big deal. But those important sections within a business plan. First, executive summary, yeah? So you need a first section in a one-pager to talk about the summary of your whole business. And to be honest, most of the investors or judges, they just care about this one pager at the beginning. If there is something there that they really like about it, they deep dive into the whole business plan. If not, they put it aside. Because if you want to put yourself in their shoes, they keep receiving all these business plans on weekly basis. Yeah? Each week, each month, they receive hundreds, tens of different business plans. So they also have some sort of a structure in their mind how they need to prioritize these business plans. So that's section one. Section two, you need to talk about your mission. And that's actually the why behind your business idea. Why this business exists, what kind of problems it's going to solve or fix, right? The next section can be something about your menu of offering. What are the products or services that you have in your mind? The actual product that you have in your mind, is it a platform, is it a website, is it an application for Android or whatever? So you need to talk a little bit about your product. And then section 4 can be maybe one of the most important parts of the business plan, by the way, your target market, who you are selling these products and services to. And by target market, I mean you have to be as specific as possible. Avoid saying that, okay, everyone is my client, all the universities are my client, all the students are my clients. Yeah, it doesn't work. Try to be more specific. If you are launching a product for universities, for example, try to be more specific, like what kinds of universities, in which cities, in which states, in which countries. Or even if it is for mass population, right? You can somehow ask questions like what type of population, in terms of income bracket, in terms of age, in terms of their demographic, their behavior, their pain points, or whatever. So that's actually an important part of your business plan. Then you have to talk about the business model, which actually means how you are going to make money out of this business. Yeah. Samin and I, we might have some same idea in our mind. You might want to sell chocolate, I want to sell chocolate, but depending on how we are earning money, the business plan might be different. It can be a one-time fee, it can be a subscription, it can be a percentage of a transaction cost. So depending on how you are defining the way you're earning money is really important, and you usually cover that on the section of business model. Then as Pranav mentioned, you have to talk about your operation model, how you're going to move from the idea to the execution, what kind of organization chart, staffing, your supply chain, your manufacturing, and all those things. And finally, I guess the last and the heart of your business plan is going to be your financial projection. Because at the end of the day, all these items and all these sections are going to be translated into financial metrics. And honestly, that's the most important part for investors and for many stakeholders. And again, by financial projections, I mean you have to forecast your costs, your revenues, your profit, and some key metrics and measures. I'm pretty sure you have learned about that at your course, some of those financial metrics, but you have to know some basics about them, like break-even point or return on investment or those kind of metrics. And then finally, you can wrap up your business plan. And the point about business plan is not just filling in those sections. You have to look at those sections like different pieces of puzzles, right? So if you actually do it right and in a solid, strong way, you can see that those pieces of puzzles fit together. If you have a target clients that they don't afford buying your product, you can see the whole business plan falls apart. Yeah. So the beauty of having business plan actually is that you can connect those dots together, and you can see that your business actually makes sense.
Perfect. Well, I would be happy to see that all students in this room have learned return on investment and break-even analysis.
Yeah, I hope so.
From this course, hopefully. So let's move on to another question to help students distinguish between different documents that might be somewhat similar. So how is a business plan different from a project proposal or a pitch deck?
As I mentioned, again, we have different variations or terminology for business plans. And I guess it's not important to get stuck into the terminology, but some of them that you mentioned might be a little bit different. For example, the project proposal that you mentioned, that's totally different from business plan. Project proposal is a response to a request for proposal, an RFP. And that is when an organization actually needs someone to help them to execute a project. Imagine your university wants to do a project, and they issue or they actually announce an RFP to get help from different teams, different students, and each of you prepare a proposal to say that, okay, this is going to be my methodology to fix this problem, this is going to be the budget, the timing, the milestones. So that's actually a proposal. But when it comes to some other terminologies, like for example, pitch deck, you said, right? That can be some variation of business plan. And the way I look at pitch deck or sales pitch or those kind of presentations is that there are more shorter visual version of the business plan. So you usually prepare the pitch decks in PowerPoint template. It should be around 10, 15 slides. And usually that's like a trailer for your business idea, right, in front of the investors. It depends which one of those sections you want to put emphasis on when you are preparing a pitch deck. And that really depends on your investors or who you are presenting the idea to them. But usually with pitch decks, you put the emphasis on your team because you want to show the investors that, okay, this is my team, this is the background, this is their expertise, and also on the financial projection. So these two might be the most important part of the pitch deck.
Excellent. So there seems to be a question from one of our students. It would be great if you also introduce yourself and your program, and feel free to ask all your questions.
Hi, my name is Aditya. I'm in industrial engineering in the junior year. I had a question for both the panelists on the note of business plans. So, some of us might have an idea for a singular product or something that can solve a singular problem. But how do you go from that to a full-fledged business plan? Because a company and a product are two different things.
No, thanks for your question. That's a great question because especially when it comes to engineers, we usually start with the product itself and we forget the high level of the business. And my recommendation is that when you are designing a product, please note that and remember, because many of those ideas that they fail, actually it's not because they didn't have a good product, it's because they fixed a problem that nobody cares about that problem, okay? So this is really important to think about your target market and to understand what are the main pain points of your target markets, what they are struggling with, and how they are fixing it. And how can you learn about it? By doing market research. So I recommend, even if it is a simple idea, at least have 1 or 2 interviews with some of those potential users to avoid proposing an idea that's not going to solve any important problems. I have another solution for you as well, because there are tons of different templates in the market that you can use as an engineer who gives you a better understanding of how can you look at the high-level business rather than just being focused on the product. And one of those templates that I usually use is actually business model canvas. It was introduced in 2005 by a gentleman called Mr. Osterwalder. And since its introduction, there has been a variety of different versions of that. And the beauty of that canvas is that in a simple pager, it gives you some good questions to think about it, to understand the whole bigger picture of the business. And as you said, to not just focus or limit it to the product itself. And there are some buckets there. You can easily Google them and find some of those free templates by yourself. But for example, they talk about target markets. They talk about the distributions, channels, main business streams, main cost structures, your partners, your suppliers. So for each of these buckets, there are 3, 4, 5 main questions. And that's important to find an answer for those questions. So hopefully by having these templates, they can guide you to escape from that trap in your mind that you should be only limited to the product.
And just to add on to that, the importance of market research, it is not just about your product that you're planning to distribute to customers to solve a meaningful problem. It is also to understand your competitors, potential competitors in the market, and how your product can meaningfully solve that problem significantly better than the competitors. So market research is not just like researching or studying about how your product can solve the problem that's faced by the customers, but it's also how it can solve the problem better than the customers. So as Amir very well said about the importance of market research, ensure that this is also included.